My name is Marcel, and I'm from Canada. I'm a Christian, I believe in Jesus, and my values and beliefs have inspired me to move to Russia. I started planning my move to Russia many years ago. Over the years, I traveled to Russia many times and made it my home now. Russia has rejected the Western progressive ideologies of extreme individualism, and I respect that. It's part of my values as well, to determine the shape and the culture and the beliefs and the values that promote traditional values, especially the traditional family. And I believe that Russia is a place where I am at home spiritually, especially in these modern times where Western values have become so anti-Christian. My channel launch is because the world requires good people to speak truth to those living in the echo chambers of mainstream media.
I will be visiting many sites around Bryansk, specifically places that have been affected by the attacks of the Ukrainian military within the region of Bryansk. I'm starting my coverage here at the appropriate place, which is the Kolyana Partisan Memorial, a location that commemorates all the people who resisted fascism in World War II. What better place to start my video and take you on a journey to different locations.
I will endeavor to cover local stories here in Bryansk with my perspective. I'm a former military officer that attended the Royal Military College of Canada, and I worked as a healthcare administrator. I have no military deployments abroad, mostly assisting healthcare operations in country. I voluntarily released in 2014, and I continue to work in healthcare as an administrator with Indigenous peoples before moving to Russia. I witnessed the military support for Ukraine by the Canadian government going back as far back as 2013. The events that led to the SMO were progressive and started well before 2022. It is obvious that there is a sinister plot. NATO operations using Ukraine are visible to me here living in Bryansk. I'm going to report on these incidences, interviewing locals, and showing you the consequences of these outrageous actions which target civilians. Please be thoughtful and comment with respect on my production so I can use the criticism to improve my content and grow my channel for the benefit of all concerned. I'm walking around the city of Starodub. Starodub is about 40 kilometers from the Ukrainian border, 145 kilometers southwest of Bryansk.
It is the scene of a horrific drone attack against this house.
The blast wave collapsed walls on a sleeping child. Ilya Gorilov's future is no more because of the actions of the Ukrainian state that is currently attacking the Bryansk region daily with drones that are often having no military purpose except to terrorize the people living in the Bryansk region. That mirrors events that occurred 83 years ago in the Second World War. History is important to know as it demonstrates the horrors that have occurred then and are now being witnessed today across many regional borders in Russia and here in Bryansk, and specifically in the city of Starodub, close to the school and the scene of the horrific drone attack that devastated this home that took the life of a 12-year-old child, Ilya. I'll be interviewing the father here. I'm a blogger. I'm from Canada, and I would like to tell about your tragedy on my channel. Little is known about the conflict in the West and provide objective information to people in the West. Tell us how it happened, exactly what happened on that day.
Было это 1 декабря, случилось этого года, 24-го, около 2 часов ночи. Я проснулся от хлопка. Был большой хлопок. Сын, который погиб, вот где сейчас ящик находится, вот лежит ящик, он здесь был. Жена спала там, вот где тряпочки, вот сейчас это вот, там была ее спальня. Ну и проснулся от первого хлопка. Когда уже случилось второй хлопок такой, ну там не хлопок, там взрыв, приличный взрыв. Мы вдвоем ринулись спасать сына, а сына уже завалило. Он уже, ну, надо было бревна поднимать, все это. Ну, не смогли, короче. Не смогли вытянуть, короче. Ну, огонь, это все. И просто стояли, вон там вон, ревели. Просто ревели. Понимаете, ну, кричали, ревели. А уже все.
Do you think that these attacks are intimidating people, make them against the government? And how often do these drone attacks happen?
Каждый день.
Каждый день.
Каждый день они летят. Мы их знаете, как называем? Мы привыкли уже, вот они как вот началось, да, вот как они начали запускать в нашу сторону, да, мы их называем хохлы на мопедах едят. Хохлы, не украинцы, чтобы там не путалось. А вот эти, которые западные, вот эти вот, которые вот захотели этой всей вот канители, да, вот, ну, вот так вот рассмотрим ситуацию, я вот своей головой думаю. Вот. Вот это происходит. Ну, на мопедах вот стоишь, а он просто-напросто он пролетает, он летит прямо. Да, он прямо вот она слышно.
Я слышу.
Они низко, они вообще низко здесь летают, вообще низко.
Да.
Ну.
You live near the border. Did the Ukraine army manage to so panic, or on the contrary, did they? Is this uniting people against what's happening?
Нет, паника у нас нету. Мы сплоченные, мы русские, мы нормальные, да. И мы, это, если надо, в любую минуту. Просто в любую минуту. Тем более, ну, когда вот такое происходит, когда дети гибнут. Согласны?
I will communicate message to people in as much as I can, so that people understand better how senseless this terrorist act is, and that it's actually accomplishing the opposite of what the Ukrainian government is trying to do here. Hi, I just want to let you know that I've arrived in Klimovo, where I'll be reporting on the Bryansk border about the Sabotage Group that were intercepted here. My name is Marcel, and I'm in Klimovo on the Ukrainian border in the Bryansk region. I'm a former Canadian military officer that attended the Royal Military College of Canada and consider myself a student of history and respect the sacrifices that Canadians did to defeat fascism. Unfortunately, the Western countries and NATO are utilizing an ancient evil to use Ukraine as a battering ram, and the SMO is going to stop this gross and perverse conflict because it has no other option. I witnessed the military support of Ukraine by the Canadian government going back to 2013. The events that led to the SMO were progressive and started well before 2022. This Ukraine conflict with Russia is definitely provoked, and there's plenty of anecdotal evidence to prove that. It is obvious that there is a sinister plot to break Russia using Ukraine, NATO, and its clandestine operation in Ukraine. Klimovo is attacked constantly, several times a day. NATO and its clandestine operations are using Ukraine. The plans are failing, and they are reverting to terrorism and guerrilla tactics, and using willing souls as mercenaries to cross into Bryansk. As far as I know, the operation to penetrate Bryansk by a sabotage group of Western mercenaries was called Operation Swamp. Apparently, they called this Operation Swamp because the border of Bryansk has lots of swamps, and it's easy to get bogged down. Part of this group, there was a Canadian, a fellow countryman, who was motivated to come and fight in Bryansk. It was a really bad idea. There was Americans, Scandinavian mercenaries also took part in Operation Swamp, which is open source knowledge now. These saboteurs were all ex-military who worked for NATO at one time or another. NATO unofficially sends these fighters to kill Russians on their soil, but these fighters often meet with their death. The saboteurs were trained in Bucha, city located near Kiev, known for a large-scale provocation. Western media ran this story over and over. I'm in Klimovo, and it's on the Ukrainian border, and I was talking to locals about this saboteur group, armed with carbines, large caliber machine guns with extra barrels, and 13 disposable grenade launchers to attack, and they were using Western style weapons. They packed 32 magazines. The main weapon they carried were hand grenades and 40mm grenades. They also carried engineering charges and mines that were never used. The group clearly made errors, and they were discovered, and their mission failed. I'm in a Bryansk forest talking about mercenaries and asking myself, why would the government of Canada allow mercenaries joining in on these kind of suicidal operations in the Bryansk region on Russian territory. I have a question as to why this would be acceptable. The region is heavily swamped, impossible to penetrate, and clearly led to his death. I can only think that propaganda is what motivated individuals to do this. American, Canadian, and others from nations, from NATO nations, ex-service members. I can't see how they could be so naive as to think that they could successfully penetrate these heavily wooded, swamped, rivered regions and think that they could succeed. What is the Canadian government saying about these people who have perished? Ask yourself that. Mainstream media is not covering these stories at all. There are many ex-NATO soldiers who are dying in Ukraine, trying to attack in Russia, and they're failing miserably. I'm at the end of my video here, and I wanted to summarize that I'm here in center of Bryansk city, where I took you on a trip to Klimovo, where mercenaries were inspired to do a sabotage and reconnaissance mission that failed, and the weapons that they were holding. And then took you to Starodub, where we saw the horrific effects of a drone attack that killed young Ilya Gorlo. And we interviewed his father and how he's coping with that and the resolve he still has, as these terrorist attacks are not intimidating the Russian people. And I started my video at the Polyana Partisan Memorial, a place where many people are memorialized in history because of the sacrifice they did in World War II. Please show interest, get interested in history, and understand that this conflict is very complicated and is not being helped by foreign mercenaries trying to attack the Bryansk region.
демонов.